When we think of the NFL and the athletes it consists of, the types of players that first come to mind for many, if not most of us, will be some of the most athletically gifted freaks of nature that continue to test the physical limits of mankind day by day. Yeah, there may be exceptions, but don't get it twisted. I'm pretty sure even Rodrigo Blankenship would give most guys straight work. But for the most part, these players are some of the closest things to superhumans we have on this planet. I mean, where else do you find guys that are 6'1", 285, can bench press 500 pounds the same way I can bench press the bar, yet can run a 40-yard dash in under 4.7 seconds? Or guys that stand 6'4", 229, that can run a 4.33 40, jump over 40 inches, bench press 2 plates 27 times, and probably wouldn't even flinch if hit by a moving car. Now, even though this may not seem true for every player in the NFL, we've still gotta agree. These are all world-class athletes, with many looking the part too. What I'm saying is, whether you saw these guys in their uniforms or out on the streets, you'd know they mean business. But then again, there are some players where if you've never seen them play and judge them solely on their physiques, you might second guess as to how they even got to the league in the first place. So with the 2021 NFL Draft recently being brought to an end, allow me to introduce one of the brightest prospects entering the league this season. That may just be that second guess for some of us. With that being said, cue in DeVonta Smith. You see this guy for the first time, and it might give you hope that you'll be making the NFL with him. Likely, if you didn't know who this man was and saw him casually walking down the street, maybe you'd think he was just your average Joe with a knack for keeping fit and maintaining a solid physique. You likely wouldn't think that he's arguably one of the greatest college receivers, maybe even players of all time, and has just been drafted 10th overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. I mean no disrespect to DeVonta Smith. The man can straight up ball, and he's proven it during his 4 years at Alabama. He's done things most of our Road to Glory players back in the day couldn't even dream of doing. But when you look at his stature and his pound-for-pound size, you've got to question just how well he can hold up with the big dogs. With that being said, now as an official player of the NFL, he will be one of, if not the lightest players in the league as of right now, weighing in at only 166 pounds. Let's see how he fares with some of the league's lightest from a recent season. Since there is no data regarding the official lightest players in the NFL from the previous season, i.e. the 2020 season, I looked into some data from the 2019 season. From that season, the 3 lightest players in the league were Marquis Brown, Taylor Gabriel, and Jake Elliott. Looking at Marquis Brown, who at the time of the data collection weighed in at 166 pounds, he was one of, if not the lightest players in the NFL at the time, but has since beefed up to approximately 180 pounds, no longer putting him in consideration for league's lightest. Here's the catch though. Brown stands at 5'9", a good 3 to 4 inches shorter than DeVonta Smith, who stands between 6 foot to 6'1", depending on who you talk to. Next up, Taylor Gabriel. The 2019 season was the season that put the wraps on Taylor Gabriel's career, a career in which he was often regarded as one of the smallest but grittiest players the league had to offer. Entering the 2019 season, he weighed in at a mere 168 pounds, but only stood at 5'7". He is no longer in the league and no longer in consideration for the lightest players in the NFL, so we take him out. Lastly, Jake Elliott, who at the beginning of the 2019 season weighed in at 168 pounds as well, was one of and still is one of the lightest players in the NFL, but also a 5'9" kicker. So by looking at that data, it's pretty likely that coming into the league, DeVonta Smith will be among the lightest players in the NFL, if not the absolute lightest. Considering he's not 5'9" or a place kicker, definitely raises some eyebrows. Now again, no disrespect to DeVonta Smith whatsoever. To break numerous school and SEC receiving records, to be only one of 4 wide receivers to ever win the Heisman, and to be widely regarded as one of the greatest college football players to ever play the game doesn't just happen by chance. So obviously, he's got it going for him. However, the NFL and college football are different games, and just because someone saw major success in college doesn't necessarily mean they will triumph equally in the NFL, as we've seen time in and time out. With that, let's see what difference size has on the potential to impact DeVonta's game. First and foremost, we've got to look at the differences in sizes of players between the two leagues. Looking at these differences in size, by comparing each position in college football to the NFL, on average, professional football players are at least 10 pounds heavier, if not more, at each respective position compared to their counterparts. More selective to DeVonta, however, the average wide receiver in the NFL weighs roughly 200 pounds, whereas the average wide receiver in the first division of NCAA college football weighs about 190 pounds. This indicates that many of the receivers that make it into the NFL either make it because the league favors their size, or receivers put on muscle in order to be able to withstand the increased physicality the league brings compared to college. It should also be noted that defensive backs, the primary matchups a player like DeVonta Smith would be facing week in and week out, are also considerably larger in the NFL compared to the college game. Like receivers, defensive backs in the NFL weigh roughly 200 pounds, 10 pounds more on average, compared to players in the first division of the NCAA. Not only will the defensive backs in the NFL be more talented and skilled than in the NCAA, but the size advantage most, if not all, the defensive backs will have over DeVonta Smith will be a huge factor in the outcome of many aspects of the game. Again, although DeVonta Smith was an absolute monster in college, there is no guarantee this success will directly translate to the NFL. As I've said before, the NFL and NCAA are different in many aspects, and the importance of a player's size in influencing the outcome of a play, drive, or even a game are relied on that much more. For a wide receiver in the NFL, such as DeVonta, he is far more likely to face press coverage from his matchups, directed to disrupt his game, compared to the college level. College cornerbacks will rarely put their hands on receivers after the snap, minimizing the physicality a wide receiver will face during a play, and therefore allows them to solely focus on running their designated routes, without constantly being pushed around by cornerbacks trying to disrupt their psyches and timing. In the NFL, however, cornerbacks are far more inclined to jam receivers in order to disrupt their timing once the ball is snapped. By pushing a receiver ever so slightly off their line of movement, it has the potential to disrupt their routes and skew the edge to the defensive backs ever so slightly, either forcing the wide receiver out of the play or putting the defensive back in a better position to make a play. In DeVonta Smith's case, being as light as he is, I wouldn't be surprised if many cornerbacks would use their size advantage that much more, knowing they have the leverage over a guy of DeVonta's size in order to gain a physical advantage, allowing them to disrupt his ability to run his routes and create space. Now, even though DeVonta's size may impact his short-term outcomes, play in and play out, we should also note how his size may impact his longevity. In a game as physical as the NFL, you've got to be thinking, how many hits can a guy of DeVonta Smith's size take before he really gets nailed with a significant injury? According to various statistics, wide receivers are one of the most frequently injured players in the NFL, second behind only running backs in the offensive set. This is likely due to the massive hits receivers tend to take while moving at extremely high speeds. Luckily, DeVonta Smith will mostly be getting hit by DBs, who again, on average, weigh roughly 200 pounds. But if his recent medicals are true, and DeVonta Smith actually only weighs 166 pounds, that still means your average defensive back delivering a hit to DeVonta Smith would be outweighing him by more than 30 pounds. Now, if that doesn't alarm you in the slightest, then imagine this. DeVonta Smith catches a 5-yard crossing route, running near full speed, and as he turns his head, he gets met by a 240-pound linebacker waiting to deliver a devastating blow. Ouch. So yeah, his size may be a big question mark and may have the potential to impact his career both short-term and long-term. But to what extent it will, we won't truly know until we actually get to see him in action. Since we've never really seen a guy standing 6 feet tall and weighing less than your average 5'6" Portuguese male, we don't really know what to expect. He may very well just end up doing the exact opposite of what some expect. Maybe DeVonta Smith's lack of mass is what allows him to be so smooth and elusive and constantly gives QBs an open target to throw to. Maybe his slim stature and lankiness is what allows him to be so quick and agile, like few wide receivers we have ever witnessed in history. After all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As we have all been privileged to witness, DeVonta Smith has been one of the most dominant receivers all of college football has ever seen. And he's got the track record to back it up. He's probably got more records than pounds on his body. And if it seemed to work for him, maybe there's no reason to change it all. Even he himself has no concerns about his weight, as he was quoted as saying, quote, "We play football. We're not bodybuilders." No one knows anyone better than they know themselves, and I'm assuming DeVonta is no different. I'm sure he knows what's right for him, and if he is satisfied being the way he is right now, then maybe there's no need for him to change at all. I'm sure he himself, his athletic team, coaching staff, and all those around him will try to mold him into the best version of himself that he can be. Now, whether that's at 150 pounds, 200 pounds, or even 250 pounds, we don't know. And it's for us to behold in the coming future. I'm sure DeVonta is going to continue to dominate football and give opposing defenses nightmares week in and week out, just like he did in college. And I can't wait.